There's a kind of race where motorcycles tear through villages, houses, and open fields at over 186 miles per hour, about 300 kilometers per hour, on ordinary public roads built for everyday cars. But the problem isn't just going fast. It's doing that in places that were never meant for it. Now, what if I told you there are two races that push this idea to the absolute limit, in completely opposite ways? In one, the enemy is invisible. You ride alone, immersed in the sound of your own machine, chasing a ghost called time. In the other, the enemy has a name, a number, and he's glued to your rear wheel, just inches away. This isn't just about courage. It's about what kind of hell you're willing to face. What's more terrifying, the sound of nothing but your own engine, or the chaos of multiple bikes fighting for the same strip of road? How did these two races reach such an absurd level of risk? And why, even today, has no rider, not even the most experienced, been able to agree on which one is truly more dangerous? To understand this relationship between risk and fear, we need to go back to where it all began. Before comparing fears, you have to understand the risk that creates them and the terrain where that risk is born. The Isle of Man TT and the Northwest 200 are often treated as sister races within road racing. Both take place on closed public roads, with no runoff areas, gravel traps, or modern racetrack safety infrastructure. These are roads designed for everyday traffic, villages, houses, sidewalks, never for motorcycles exceeding 186 miles per hour, roughly 300 kilometers per hour. And that single detail defines everything. This isn't just about speed. It's about reaching extreme speed in places that were never meant to host it. The TT is held on the mountain course, a circuit that stretches 37.7 miles, about 60.7 kilometers, winding through villages, open countryside, and mountain roads on the Isle of Man. It's long, uneven, and unpredictable, a track where every lap feels like a journey of its own. Depending on the class, races run 3, 4, or 6 laps, which can push a rider beyond 223 miles, more than 360 kilometers at full race pace, completely alone with his thoughts and decisions. The start at the TT is individual, with 10-second intervals between riders. There is no pack, no constant visual reference. The winner isn't the one who crosses the line first, but the one with the lowest total time at the end. That's why people say TT riders race against a ghost. They're not fighting for position, they're fighting invisible numbers on a stopwatch. Even so, the speeds are staggering. Average laps hover around 130 miles per hour, roughly 210 kilometers per hour, on narrow roads lined with stone walls, poles, and houses. The atmosphere is often described as mystical and deeply solitary. There's no constant roar of other engines, only the sound of your own bike echoing through the mountain. At the TT, mistakes don't have witnesses. They have sentences. The Northwest 200 takes place on the Triangle Circuit, a layout measuring 8.97 miles, about 14.4 kilometers, linking urban sections with fast open roads in Northern Ireland. It's much shorter than the TT, but no less intense. Races usually run 4 to 6 laps, creating explosive, compact battles fought flat out from start to finish. The biggest difference appears immediately at the start. Here, it's a mass start, MotoGP style. Dozens of riders launch together, fighting for space from the very first corner. The race is decided wheel to wheel, break by break. There's no ghost here. There are rivals breathing down your neck. Average speeds rival the TT, but with an added danger, the slipstream. Drafting pulls bikes together and compresses space, making overtakes inevitable. Passes happen at over 200 miles per hour, around 320 kilometers per hour, often side by side, separated by inches. Multiple braking points, constant position changes, and close quarters battles turn the NW200 into an environment of controlled chaos, where danger doesn't come only from the road, but from the riders around you. Two events, two opposite architectures of risk. In one, the enemy is time. In the other, the enemy has a name, a number, and a handlebar right beside you. And it's from these structural differences that the central question is born. Which of these environments puts more fear inside a helmet? Fear doesn't come out of nowhere. It's shaped by how a rider perceives the risk in front of them. In road racing, risk isn't just speed. It's structure, proximity, unpredictability, and the absence of margin. When that same risk presents itself in different ways, the fear it creates changes as well. The Isle of Man TT and the Northwest 200 don't expose riders to more or less danger. They expose them to radically different types of risk, shaping two opposite fears inside the helmet. At the TT, risk is structural, fixed, and indifferent. The course doesn't react to a rider's decisions. It doesn't adapt, negotiate, or change behavior. The error isn't provoked by other riders. It's charged directly by the environment. That immovable risk pushes fear inward. Solitude amplifies the perception of error because there are no external distractions to dilute responsibility. Every corner demands absolute focus. Any lapse can be final. That feeling is reinforced at the start. With 10-second intervals, riders don't fight for space. They fight time. This creates the so-called ghost start. You only encounter other competitors if you're gaining or losing seconds at timing points. Risk doesn't materialize in human form. It appears as invisible numbers on a clock. The race becomes a silent, intimate relationship with your own limits. And here's where the scale of that pressure becomes clear. The numbers reveal the true weight of this silence. At the Isle of Man TT, races lasting over an hour, with laps stretching 37.7 miles, about 60 kilometers, and hundreds of memorized corners, have been decided by absurdly small margins. In one race, the final gap between Hutchinson and Dunlop was just 1.45 seconds after multiple full laps of the mountain course. In another, Anstey and Donald were separated by only 0.77 seconds at the finish. That means that after tens of minutes riding alone, with no visual reference of rivals, every micro-decision, a braking point, a corner exit, a throttle touch, accumulated until it became a difference shorter than a blink. At the TT, the battle isn't visible lap by lap. It reveals itself only at the end, when the clock exposes the weight of every choice made in complete isolation. At the TT, fear isn't explosive. It's cumulative. It grows corner by corner, mile after mile. The road changes with wind, shadow, and asphalt temperature, and the rider must anticipate all of it alone. It's a race of millimetric precision, where every wrong decision demands its price without warning. Here, risk doesn't move, it waits. Up to this point, fear has been silent, but everything changes when risk gains a face. At the Northwest 200, risk takes a different form. It's human, mobile, and unpredictable. From the mass start, riders are surrounded by others accelerating, braking, and fighting for the same physical space. Fear here is born from constant proximity and the real possibility of collision, not just from your own mistake, but from someone else's decision. One misjudged brake can turn a battle into a collective crash in fractions of a second. Slipstreaming intensifies that tension. Air displacement pulls bikes together, compresses space, and makes overtakes unavoidable. Position changes happen in sequence, often within the same lap, preventing any mental reset. The rider doesn't manage risk, he reacts to it. Danger doesn't come only from the road, it comes from the other riders. There's also a central psychological element at the NW200, forced trust. To race, you have to believe the rider next to you will hold the line, brake at the limit, and respect a space that barely exists. That trust is fragile, because it depends on dozens of human decisions happening simultaneously. At the NW200, courage isn't just about accelerating, it's about accepting that risk is shared every second. So which environment puts more fear inside a helmet? The answer has less to do with how much risk exists and more with how that risk behaves. At the TT, risk is absorbed internally. It becomes silence, extreme focus, and constant self-dialogue. At the NW200, risk is external. It surrounds you, moves with you, and reacts in real time. Both races are lethal. Both push riders to the edge of human control, but they apply pressure in opposite ways. One tests how long you can hold yourself together in isolation. The other tests how well you can survive inside chaos. In the end, the Isle of Man TT and the Northwest 200 aren't just competing for the title of most extreme race. They reveal two different definitions of courage. At the TT, courage is internal. It's sustaining absolute focus for dozens of miles, absorbing a structural risk that doesn't move, react, or forgive. It's defeating panic in silence, corner after corner, knowing every decision is recorded by the clock. At the NW200, courage is external. It's facing a human risk that changes every second, trusting decisions that aren't yours, and accepting shared danger at extreme speed. Here, fear doesn't accumulate. It happens in real time, renews itself at every breaking point, and demands constant reaction. Courage isn't about enduring alone. It's about surviving together. Both are deadly. Both push humans to the limit, but each tests something different inside the helmet. The TT asks how far you can go against yourself. The NW200 asks how far you can go against others. And maybe that's why this comparison never has a definitive answer, because it says less about motorcycles and more about people. Now the question is yours. If you had to choose one, which would you have the courage to face? The Isle of Man TT or the Northwest 200? And which one do you truly believe is more dangerous? Leave your answer in the comments. If this video kept you watching until the end, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to keep exploring stories of extreme challenges, impossible races, and people who go beyond the limit. And look, there's another video on your screen right now. Click it, and I'll see you there. Keep exploring. The world doesn't stop, and neither do we.